Palpatine's galactic empire was sitting on top of an entire planet filled with opportunities to dominate the galaxy. A tool that could have solidified his grip not just militarily, but economically, politically, and societally as well. So why did he choose the crude and unsophisticated weapon instead? Palpatine spent years running a propaganda campaign against the Jedi, and this could have swayed public opinion against them for generations. In current Star Wars canon, there's a substance known as Kyber. Kyber crystals are a primary component to a Jedi's lightsaber, and they've been hoarding and keeping their location secret for millennia. They are essential because they're basically magic. If you direct energy into a Kyber crystal, it actually outputs more energy. In reality, this violates the first and second law of thermodynamics. Simply put, some energy in, more energy out. This allows lightsabers to be compact, but this characteristic also means that Kyber is essentially a perpetual energy device.
The Emperor's dream of energy independence, stable, unlimited power will transform the galactic economy and solidify imperial authority.
Krennic and the Emperor are absolutely correct. If the Empire controls unlimited, stable energy, it controls the galaxy. And once people are able to see this benefit from Kyber, they can also be told how the Jedi kept it from them. That would be the smart thing to do. And while he's not exactly unintelligent, certain aspects of Sheev Palpatine's ideology and personality prevented him from taking this road. We all know that the energy program was a cover for the Death Star project. They used Kyber to power that instead. The intelligent thing to do would have been to actually implement the energy initiative. Instead of the Jedi, the Empire now has control over Kyber. Use it to build an energy infrastructure centered around the Empire. If one regime controls a source of effectively unlimited, reliable, and cheap energy, it doesn't need a superweapon. It owns the thing every planet, corporation, and shipyard needs just to function. It owns the lights, the shields, the life support. With that, building a Death Star becomes redundant, wasteful at worst, useless at best.
The Imperial Senate will no longer be of any concern to us. I have just received word that the Emperor has dissolved the Council permanently.
Fear will keep the local systems in line.
Tarkin is talking about fear of annihilation, but fear works even better when the thing you're afraid of losing is normal life. Instead of obey or we blow you up, it's obey or maybe your power stations have a few unfortunate outages. Maybe your climate systems go offline. Maybe your orbital shields fail during pirate season. But the real genius of this approach is that it's self-perpetuating. The Empire won't have to make any overt threats. The governors, the senators, and even regular citizens who even think about any kind of resistance or rebellion will have this question in the back of their minds. Do we want our planet to go dark? For the Empire, it's do nothing, win. In contrast, the Death Star is a crude, barbaric cudgel. If Palpatine had doubled down on the energy program, there'd be no reason to dissolve the Senate. In fact, I'd argue that it would overall weaken his hold on the planetary systems. Most of the Senate supported the Emperor. They could use this as a talking point for decades. But the moment Palpatine fires the Death Star and dissolves the Imperial Senate, he doesn't just blow up Alderaan. He blows up his own plausible deniability. Every loyal senator who spent years defending him suddenly realizes the opposition was right all along. They'd lose all credibility with their constituents, and their home systems now have a mortal license to rebel. Think about how different that looks. With a giant gun pointed at planets, the line is clear to everyone. The Empire is the villain. With an energy regime, the story is, we're just providing power. We're keeping your hospitals running, your shipyards busy, your shields up. The Empire can even offer subsidized or completely tax-funded energy, not to be generous, but to make sure nobody can afford to walk away. If a system flirts with rebellion, blowing it up is unnecessary and counterproductive, because then you lose that entire source of labor, resources, and tax revenue. Instead, you let them isolate themselves and struggle with shortages. Eventually, they'll come crawling back, begging to reconnect to the grid. Blowing up a planet is final. Cutting off its power is reversible. The Empire can always take you back on their terms. But since you're providing an essential service, people will be willing to put up with or justify a lot more. In Andor, we see Narkina 5, a prison complex where quote-unquote criminals are put to work, sometimes to death, building components that we later find out was for the Death Star's super laser. Now imagine an alternate version of that story. Same prison, same indefinite sentences, Same, no one ever really leaves. Only now, they're building components for Kyber-based power plants and grid relays instead of a giant gun. Even if it all leaks, a large swath of people are going to default to, if you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime. Even if, like with Andor, they didn't actually commit any crime at all, as long as it's not happening to them, they won't care. As long as the victims are labeled as criminals and kept out of sight, most citizens will rationalize the abuse, especially if it's all framed as repaying their debt to society by helping build crucial infrastructure. Sure, you might still get some people who stand against it on moral grounds, but what are they going to do? Demand it be shut down and disrupt the energy supply or make it more expensive? If you're the one protesting, you're also the one who's blamed every time the lights flicker. A doomsday weapon pushes people towards resistance, but a factory, however inhumane, that powers their hospitals forces them to swallow their outrage. There's plenty of examples in our own world that I can use to showcase all this, of course, but I don't have to, because we've already seen a small-scale version of this in Knights of the Old Republic 2. When the Paragus facility is destroyed, Citadel Station loses its fuel source, but the Republic can still strike a deal with the last known supplier, Volga the Hutt.
Yes, I attempted to force the Republic to turn to shipping fuel from Paragus rather than buying it from the Hutts. Before you blew up the planet, of course.
So Volga has fuel that can be supplied to Telos?
Yes, but doing so would bankrupt the Republic.
That is what an energy monopoly looks like. One supplier, no alternatives, and a buyer too dependent to walk away. Without fuel, Citadel Station will collapse into the planet. Palpatine could have been Volga the Hutt, but with leverage on the entire galaxy. So why didn't he? Why use the obvious superior option as just a cover for the inferior one? Well, I think there's two main reasons. Number one, he's a Sith Lord.
How many sorts of victories can you imagine? Peaceful victory, victory by sacrifice, a truce, an achievement. Unless the victory is achieved by demonstrating that your power is superior, it is only an illusion, temporary at best. We seek more.
A monopolistic energy grid is a subtle domination. Sith philosophy dictates that it be demonstrated. All must know and capitulate to the fact that you are superior. Reason number two, Palpatine is a politician, not a businessman. A Sith politician wants the spectacle of a moon-sized battle station and a Senate dissolved with the stroke of a pen. It's a CEO who wants that monopoly. If Palpatine had that mindset, the galaxy might never have gotten a clean shot at blowing up his symbol of power, because the symbol would be the power grid itself. The tragedy, or comedy depending on your point of view, is that the First Order makes the exact same mistake. They inherit Ilum from the Empire, and what do with it? They turn the entire planet into a Death Star and broadcast it as loudly as they possibly can. It's cosplay empire, complete with the same strategic blind spot. They took an opportunity for real galaxy-spanning domination and converted it into a single-point failure. A giant gun that invites a desperate, heroic counterattack. They are the ideological heirs of the worst Sith instincts. Spectacle over subtlety. Terror over systems. The Sith Lords during the Dark Wars rejected that aspect of Sith ideology, thanks to an unorthodox Sith Lord named Darth Treya. If the First Order wasn't so hostile to the concept of education and evolution, then they would have done the smart thing. Stay hidden in the unknown regions. Set up a front company within New Republic space. Call it something like Galactic Energy Solutions and announce revolutionary crystal-based energy technology. Start small with war-torn and poor worlds first, offering generous subsidies and philanthropic infrastructure grants, stuff like that, to really earn people's trust. Then start working with major industrial hubs and maybe directly with the New Republic itself. Over time, old reactors and local solutions would be branded dirty, obsolete, or even dangerous. More and more of the galaxy's infrastructure would become reliant upon Galactic Energy Solutions' proprietary technology. By the time anyone might discover that the GES is a front company for remnants of the Galactic Empire, it'd be too late. There's no singular target to blow up. Try dismantling the company and you risk entire galactic sectors blacking out. Building alternatives or regressing to previous technology could take years amidst both technical lock-in and political resistance from people who just want to keep the lights on. Fear will still keep the local systems in line, but it'll be fear of losing power, not fear of being shot out of existence. I will admit that the Death Star makes for a more exciting movie, and it makes complete sense that a Sith Lord like Palpatine would want something like that. Even in real life, we didn't build power plants when we discovered nuclear power. We built bombs. But at the very least, his successors could have realized how inefficient it is. It just creates martyrs, hardens opposition, and gives the rebellion a clear win condition. Find the weakness, fire torpedoes, don't give Chewie a medal for some reason, and roll credits. A Kyber-powered energy regime is far more sophisticated. It creates self-policing subjects, reluctant collaborators, and a galaxy where victory doesn't look like a single glorious explosion. It actually looks like the Tracer Tong ending in Deus Ex. Collapse the entire system into a new dark age. Painful, yes, but it's worth it to put an end to this repressive regime. Thank you for watching. If you like this, you might also like this video. I analyze a plan laid out by a different Sith Empire that should have worked if not for one person. A special thank you goes out to all my channel members. And until next time, have a good one.